All right, we're on page 132. This is talking about histograms. A histogram is a bar graph whose bars represent the frequencies, which is just the number of times something happens, of numeric data within intervals. Okay, so let me explain. This is a histogram. This histogram shows how many people were in church on Sunday. So the ages are measured in years. Okay, so these are years. So 0 to 10 years. So the people in church, the amount of people in church that are 0 to 10 years old is going to be 15. The amount of people in church that are 11 to 21 years old is 25. Here, 22 to 32-year-olds, there's going to be 40 of those people. And then 33 to 43, there's going to be 35 people. So these are people. And these down here are years, okay? So intervals, what an interval is that it has a starting point and a stopping point. So these intervals all down here they include several numbers. They include all the way from, if you're 33 to 43-year-olds in this bar, 22 to 32-year-olds in this bar, and so on. So you also notice that they are equal intervals. Okay, they're equal. Like this has 11 numbers. If you counted 0 to 10 on your fingers, it would include 11 numbers, and so would this and this and this. So we're going to write observations from our histogram. One thing I want to tell you about a histogram is if this is all you're given, you do not know the original list of numbers. Okay, you do not know the original list of numbers. That's it. You don't know them. You know where the numbers fall, but you have no idea how many people in this interval are 22, or how many people are 32. We don't know. Or how many people are 28, or anything that falls in that interval, we do not know. So the frequency of ages, that means the number of people, right? Number of ages, blank to blank is 25. So I'm going to look right here, find my bar that's 25, and that is my interval right there. So 11 to 21-year-olds, there's 25 people that are 11 to 21 years old. The total number of people, so in order to find a total, I'm just going to add these right here. I'm going to say 15 plus 25 plus 40 plus 35. So that right there is going to be 40. 40 plus 40 is 80. And 80 plus 35 is going to be 115. So my total number of people is 115. More than half, okay? More than half of the people are blank to blank years old. So I'm going to figure out, well, what is half of this? Okay, what is half of 115? So down here I'm going to say 115 divided by 2 and figure out what half is so that I can figure out a true way to answer that question. So half is going to be 57 and a half, which means I'm not just going to be able to say one interval is going to include more than half. So there's several different ways that I can do this, but I do know if I add these two together that that will going to be to add up something more than 57 and a half. So I'm going to say from 22 to 43. And again, there's other ways to do it. I'm just picking one way. All right, and that would be, 75 people. So that would be 75 people that are 22 to 43, which is more than my half of my total. What fraction of people are 11 to 21 years old? Anytime that I have a fraction, I'm going to have to understand that in order to write a fraction, I have a part compared to a whole. Okay, so what part are we talking about? We're talking about the part of the people that are 11 to 21 years old. So I'm going to go here. How many people? 25. Out of what's the whole? How many total people? Well, I answered that here. So it's going to be 25 out of 115. All right, now that could be my answer, or I could also simplify it. Okay, so almost always they're going to expect you to simplify fractions. So 5 out of 23. So 5 out of every 23 people that are in that church are 11 to 21 years old. So true or false? More than 1/3 of the people are 22 to 32 years old. So again, if I have a fraction, I'm going to go ahead and write my own fraction beside the 1/3, and I'm going to say part to whole just like I did here. So I want to know the part they're giving me is right here. So I'm going to go here and say that that's 40 out of my total, which is still 115 people. And I'm going to compare that. I want this side to be more if this is true. So I'm going to fraction battle like we've done in class and just compare these two fractions. And yes, this is more than that. So that would be true. True or false? 40 men are 30 to 40 years old. Well, first off, they didn't tell us if these were men or women, so that is impossible to know. So if it is impossible to know, I'm just going to say false because there's no way for me to prove it. True or false? The range of ages, and remember, range is the greatest number in the list minus the smallest number, the least number in the list. And again, I do not have an original list. There is no way for me to know whether all of these people are 33 years old. All 35 people could be 33 years old. I don't know. So since there's no original list, it is, again, impossible for me to know what the range is. So I'm going to say false. One other thing that's impossible to find is that you cannot find the mean. All right? If you do not have an original list, you cannot find the mean. Because the mean is when you add and divide. It's the average. And I don't have an original list. Another thing I couldn't find was an actual median. I could kind of look at where it falls. So like my median would probably fall here. But I don't know exactly what my median would be. So if we look here, we're going to answer this question. This is on page 133. The histogram below shows the theme park admission cost for different amusement parks. So here is the cost. So all of these are dollars. And then this is the number of parks. And here are your intervals. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and label. That's going to be 5, 7, 4. This is going to be 0. And that one is going to be 2. So which statement best describes the histogram? When it says best describes, that means that we want the one that's true. So less than half of the parks charge more than $30 to enter the park. So again, I'm going to put 1/2, and I'm going to write my part to whole. And in order for this to be true, I need this side to be less. So less than half of the parks charge more than $30. So that's my part right here. So how many charge more than $30? That means that's going to be these two parks. So that means there's 2 total parks. And let's go ahead. 2 parks, not 2 total. 2 parks that charge more than $30 to get in. And I'm going to go ahead and find my total here. 5 plus 7 plus 4 plus 2 plus, I'm not even write that 0. So that's 12, 6, which would be 18. So 2 out of 18, and I want this to be less. So that's 4, that's 18. That's looking pretty true. More than half of the parks charge less than $31. So more than half of the parks charge less than $31. So less than $31 would be all of these. These are less than 30. So we have 5 plus 7 is 12, plus 4 is 16 out of 18. If we compare, that's 32, that's 18. I wanted this to be more, and so that is true as well. The mean cost of admission is $30. Okay, I cannot find the mean. Impossible without a list. Can't do it. The greatest number of parks, which means most of them, okay, more than 50%, charge less than $15 for admission. So that would be less than 15 would be here. So that would be 5 out of 18. That's not way more than half. That's not the greatest number of parks. So that one's going to be false as well. So these two are correct.